Hello and welcome to this, the second beginner's Photoshop tutorial. I realise it's been a while since I've posted one, but I'm going to try and remedy that by posting quite a few in the coming weeks. Today it's just a short video looking at the wand tool, the magic wand tool, which you'll find on Photoshop here on the custom tools panel. The tool is one which is, for a lot of beginners, quite complicated, but once you've got the hang of it, it's a really useful tool. So in this quick tutorial, I'm going to show you what the basis of the tool is. So the basic idea of the tool is to isolate color in a layer. So for example, on the current layer, I can isolate various different colors. So here I just have a layer which is just half black and half white, and by clicking the wand tool, you'll see this wand comes up, and you can click anywhere to start isolating color. So for example, I can click here to isolate the white, or click here to isolate the black. So that's a very useful tool if you just want to isolate one element of a color quickly. For example, you could have a photo in which someone is standing behind an all green background, a standard green screen, and you can just use this color to, you'd use the wand tool to just remove the color instantly. But of course, with Photoshop, the tools don't stop at that basic use. So, for example, here's just another way that we can use them practically. I've just used the butterfly shape tool, and you can cut out shapes that you want, or a more practical use, of course, would be to cut out the background around the shape, and then you're left with the shape alone, and you can do what you will with that shape without the background actually affecting it. Another use of the tool is that it can select multiple instances of the same color. So you'll see at the moment, if I click on one of these things to isolate, it will only select the color itself. Like, it'll only select here this shape, this. All these shapes will just be selected on their own. However, if you look up here, there's a tool called Contiguous, and Contiguous will only select pixels which join together. If you uncheck Contiguous, it will select all instances of the same color in that layer. So for example, now I can select all of this blue and delete it at once. So that's a great tool, for example, if you have a very busy screen and you have a lot of things going on your screen. It's a great tool to just isolate single bits of color from wherever. For example, if you have multiple people standing behind a green screen, and the green screen is cut off by someone's head and at one instance, instead of having to select and delete multiple instances of it using the Contiguous tool, you can actually, by unchecking it, delete all instances of the same color, which of course is very useful. Now, there are some limitations to the tool. For example, if you're faced with a gradient, it's going to be very hard for you to isolate a single color. For example, right now I'm looking at a simple white to black gradient, and if I try and remove the white, for example, I'll only select one portion of the white, because Photoshop will realize that at that point the white color stops. However, you can to an extent get past this limitation by using the tolerance. The tolerance is the range Photoshop will use in allowing different colors through. So for example, to set your tolerance at 0, we'll only select that exact color. So for example here, obviously it only selects a very limited range because we're working with a gradient. And to select a tolerance of 100, 200, 300 would select absolutely everything in the range. So if you're working with a gradient, one nice way in which you might want to work is to change your tolerance. The default is 32. If you changed, for example, to about 50, you'd be able to select a lot more of the white. If you change to maybe 70, 80, let's go for 120, I would select a lot more of the color. So that's a nice way of working with gradients, but it's not foolproof, because the nature of gradients is that they change from one color to another, and the nature of the magic wand tool is that it selects one color. So it's hard to define that point at which the black changes into the white, because from here to here the black is changing into the white constantly. So now for a more practical example, I have here two gradients in the same layer that I'm trying to separate. So the magic wand tool If you set a high enough tolerance, for example, might be able to select this. If you set a higher tolerance here, might be able to select both of these things. However, there is an easier way to do this, and it comes from the quick selection tool. So if you hold your mouse click over the Magic Wand tool, you can select the quick selection tool, or if you hold Shift and click on the Magic Wand tool, or Alt and click on the Magic Wand tool, it will change into the quick selection tool. The quick selection tool is a very useful tool, and what it does is it'll actually, as you draw over or paint over, Photoshop will work out what bits you want to delete and what bits you want to keep in your piece. So for example, in this layer, if I just click and drag with the quick selection tool, Photoshop will quickly work out that the entire blue is what I want to keep or take out. So if I just press Control or Command, Shift and I to invert the selection, I can delete the black and white gradient and keep the blue. It works, of course, the same way. Photoshop will quickly work out that the black and white is what I want to keep. So by moving over that gradient, Photoshop realizes that the black and white color gradient is what I want to keep. So by moving from black to white, Photoshop realizes black to white is the color that needs to be selected. And of course, by moving from dark blue to light blue, Photoshop realizes that that's the color gradient that needs to be kept. Some points about the quick selection tool. It works with a normal brush size. So for example, it works with the normal brush tool, so you can increase the diameter of your brush, and that will of course help. But a finer brush for smaller work obviously is something you're looking for. So something like this might be useful. As well as that, the quick selection tool has various options. It has if you see here, it has a small plus and a small minus next to these tools. That's useful, for example, if you go over. So for example, if I'm selecting this and then I accidentally just move over into here, and I accidentally select a bit of this black and white gradient, I can click on the minus tool, which will subtract from my selection everything I color over. So it will realize that, okay, this black and white is what I'm subtracting. But by the time you get to subtracting, it becomes quite a hard task to find the point again, the line again. So it may be a better idea to just go back to the quick selection tool and start again, and try not to run over those lines. The quick selection tool will be very accurate on a quite a harsh gradient like this, but on a smaller gradient, for example, if I make two less harsh gradients, the tool may not be as useful. So if I just make another blue gradient here as such, and let's make it just more green, and I just paint the gradient over here, the quick selection tool may have more trouble identifying where the gradient is here, because on these lines there are some crossovers. So see, straight away it sort of wonders if that's part of it. But if you follow the gradient through like so, it should still be able to just select the area you're looking for. I mean, the tool is very, very smart, and it's able to quickly identify color patterns and color lines. So that is the end of this quick tutorial on the Magic Wand and the quick selection tool. I hope you liked it. If you want to see any other tools, please leave comments, questions below. And if you want to see anything in particular, leave a comment and I'll definitely try and get to it. Thanks. Bye-bye.